Hey you guys, buckle up because this HOA Karen story is about to make your blood boil and then hand you the sweetest justice high you've ever felt. Imagine living in a picture-perfect American suburb where the grass is always cut to regulation height, the mailboxes are all the same shade of beige, and one woman rules it all with an iron fist wrapped in a sparkly polyester blazer. That woman? Karen Thompson, president of the Juniper Cove Estates HOA for the last 9 years. And the woman she tried to erase? Josephine Hernandez, the quiet, brilliant risk analyst who commutes from her modest house on Shoreline Drive straight into the cutthroat world of Manhattan finance. You know the type of Karen we're talking about, right? The kind who's built like a refrigerator in heels, face permanently set in that "I smell something illegal" scowl, wearing loud floral blazers and power skirts that scream, "I went to one leadership seminar in 2012 and now I own you." She's the queen of petty tyranny, the high priestess of for the good of the community, while her own backyard looks like a junkyard. And for 9 straight years, she and her little board of bootlickers have treated Josephine like she doesn't exist. It was a random Tuesday when the email landed in Josephine's inbox. Subject line, Juniper Cove Estates Annual Community Weekend. Save the date. Pastel balloons, clip art grills, the whole fake happy HOA vibe. Josephine stopped mid-sip of her espresso. She scrolled down to the RSVP list. Every single neighbor was there, the Johnsons, the Patels, even the guy who parks his boat on the lawn and gets fined weekly. But Josephine Hernandez? Nowhere. For the 9th year in a row, she had been digitally deleted like a bad Excel row. Her phone rang 30 seconds later. Karen Thompson herself, voice dripping with that fake sweet poison. "Josephine, honey, I just wanted to catch you before your busy day. How's that big city job treating you?" Josephine kept her voice steady, the same tone she used to tell CEOs their billion-dollar merger was about to implode. "Karen, I just got the email." Long dramatic pause. "That. We're dealing with logistics this year. The clubhouse pavilion has that new noise ordinance. Uncle Ray, Mr. Wilkins, is in a wheelchair now, and we have to keep the event super intimate. Space issues, you understand. Space issues. In a neighborhood with a 10-acre common area and a lakeside pavilion that could seat 200. Josephine looked around her own home office with its floor-to-ceiling windows and skyline view and almost laughed out loud at the audacity. Karen sighed like she was carrying the weight of the entire subdivision. "We just want everyone comfortable. You're always so analytical. We thought you'd be bored with our little potluck. Translation, you make us look small, so we pretend you're invisible." Josephine ended the call with a polite, "Have a great weekend," set the phone down gently, and felt that familiar knot tighten in her chest. 9 years of being the glitch in Karen's perfect HOA spreadsheet. But this year something felt different. Why the frantic phone call? Why the preemptive strike? Josephine's risk analyst brain, the one that spotted fraud from 3 continents away, started pinging like crazy. She opened her laptop, pulled up the county public records portal, and typed in the address of the community pavilion, 1200 Shoreline Drive. The hourglass spun. What popped up wasn't pretty. 3 years of unpaid property taxes on the common land. Liens stacking up like Jenga blocks. Then the loans, cash-out refinances, hard money notes, all signed in the name of the HOA board. And there, on the most recent document dated 18 months ago, a guarantor line that made Josephine's coffee turn to acid in her stomach, J. Hernandez. A signature that looked like someone had traced it from her old welcome packet. They hadn't just excluded her. They had used her. Ship afloat while Karen and her crew siphoned dues into personal vacations and luxury SUVs. Josephine sat back, fingers steepled, and for the first time in 9 years the sadness flipped into something cold, sharp, and delicious. She didn't scream. She opened a new spreadsheet titled Juniper Cove Audit and went to work like the professional she was. Screenshots, timelines, cross-referenced social media posts showing Karen's new boat the same week a renovation check cleared. By sunrise, she had the full picture. The pavilion and the entire common ground were hours away from sheriff's sale. Karen had planned the community weekend as a goodbye party before the bank took everything. Josephine smiled for the first time in weeks. She picked up the phone and called her attorney. Marina, I want the distressed note. All of it. You guys, this is where the story gets good. Fast forward 2 weeks, and for the big Labor Day weekend at the pavilion. Karen had sent out daily reminders about proper attire, no political flags, and please respect the grass height policy. Josephine stayed radio silent. She worked from home, watched the moving trucks roll in under cover of night, and let the contractors she hired under an LLC do their magic. The morning of the event arrived bright and sunny, perfect HOA weather. Karen rolled up in her oversized SUV, wearing a bright teal blazer with gold buttons that strained across her ample frame, clipboard in one hand, walkie-talkie in the other. Her face was already shiny with righteous sweat. Everyone, line up behind a welcome banner. No early arrivals, we do this by the rules. The convoy of minivans and SUVs snaked down the long private road toward the pavilion gates. Karen punched in the code she thought still worked. Nothing happened. About those cheap maintenance people. Still nothing. Majestically, the brand new black iron gates, the ones nobody remember approving, swung open on silent hinges. The crowd gasped. Instead of the peeling paint, sagging roof, and mildew-stained pavilion they all remembered, they were staring at a gleaming multi-million-dollar modern estate. Floor-to-ceiling glass, slate walkways, a stone terrace overlooking a lake that sparkled like it had been photoshopped. Landscaped gardens, a new dock with luxury boats tied up, and a sleek digital sign that read, Private Residence, North Pine Holdings. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Her clipboard clattered to the pavement. Well, what is this? Where's our pavilion? Josephine stepped out of a black town car last, looking effortlessly powerful in a tailored navy blazer, hair swept back, manila envelope tucked under her arm. She walked straight to the center of the stunned crowd. They parted for her the way water parts for a shark. It's still Juniper Cove, Josephine said calmly, voice carrying across the driveway. Just the version that isn't drowning in deadened fraud. Karen spun around, cheeks flushed crimson. Josephine Hernandez, what have you done? This is HOA property. You can't just... Oh, but I can. Josephine cut in, voice laced with that dark, satisfying edge. And I did. Mortgage note 2 weeks ago. Paid every cent of back taxes. Renovated it top to bottom. Legally, the ground you're standing on. It's mine now. The silence was so complete you could hear the lake water lapping. Karen's eyes darted around like she was looking for the hidden camera. This had to be a prank. But reality. Josephine gestured toward the open front doors where soft lighting spilled out onto white oak floors. Come inside, everyone. Especially you, Karen. Inside the soaring foyer, under a chandelier that cost more than Karen's annual salary, the HOA board members looked like they'd been slapped with a wet fish. Josephine set her envelope on a massive marble island and began laying out documents like a dealer laying out a royal flush. First, the tax default notice. Second, the forged guarantor's signature, her signature. Third, bank statement showing where the renovation money really went. Karen's new boat, her daughter's destination wedding, the vice president's backyard pool. Karen's face went from red to gray. That's not real. Forged it. Josephine finished for her, raising an eyebrow. Funny. It says the signature was lifted from my 2018 welcome packet. Metadata proves the PDF was created 2 days after the date on the document. That's federal wire fraud, Karen. Identity theft. HOA funds. The room filled with the kind of quiet that only comes when a bully realizes the power just changed hands. Karen tried to rally. Blazer buttons screaming for mercy. This is ridiculous. We were protecting the community. The pavilion was falling apart, and we had to act fast. Josephine has always been difficult, always questioning everything. Josephine laughed, a short, dark chuckle that made the hair on everyone's neck stand up. Questioning. Karen, I'm a risk analyst. It's literally my job to spot when someone is about to drive a financial bus off a cliff. You just didn't want me looking too closely while you used my credit to keep your little empire afloat. She tapped the forged document. You needed a guarantor with strong income and perfect credit. I wasn't invited to meetings because I would have asked for the business plan. I would have asked where the money went. So you erased me. For non-compliant holiday lights, for excessive mailbox stickers, for existing while successful. You turned the entire neighborhood against me, so no one would listen when I eventually spoke up. One of the board members, Karen's loyal secretary, whispered, "We can fix this. We'll pay you back." Josephine's smile didn't reach her eyes. Pay me back? With what? The HOA is bankrupt. You spent the reserves on personal luxuries. The only asset left was this land. And now it's mine. She pulled out her phone, hit speaker, and a crisp professional voice filled the room. This is Marina Holt, counsel for North Pine Holdings. As of this morning, the title is clean. Josephine Hernandez is the sole owner. If she files the fraud affidavit, the FBI will be here by Monday. Sentencing guidelines for identity theft and bank fraud start at 5 years. Karen's knees actually buckled. She grabbed the edge of the island, heavy makeup starting to run. You planned this. I didn't plan it, Josephine said softly. I just stopped letting you win. Make me small so you could feel big. All I did was buy the ground you stood on. The rest of the neighbors were shifting uncomfortably, suddenly realizing they had been cheering for the wrong team for years. The ones who had nodded along when Karen posted passive-aggressive notes about certain residents who think they're above the rules now looked at Josephine like she was a superhero who just landed in their subdivision. Josephine turned to the group. Here's what's going to happen, I guess. But the rules have changed. Loudly. No more Karen deciding who belongs. And if anyone tries to pull another stunt like this, the gates stay closed forever. Karen tried one last desperate play. This is my neighborhood. I built this community. You managed it into the ground, Josephine corrected. I saved it. The sun climbed higher, turning the lake into liquid gold. Inside the new estate, the atmosphere had shifted from terror to stunned surrender. Karen sat on a bar stool that cost more than her monthly HOA dues, staring at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. Her usual loud, commanding voice had shrunk to a whisper. Josephine laid out the two options exactly like she would in a boardroom. Option 1. Everyone signs the affidavits admitting the forgery and the misappropriation of funds. In return, she would structure a repayment plan, fair, income-based, no jail time. Option 2. They refuse, she calls the authorities, and watches their lives burn. One by one they signed. Though badly, she tore the paper on the last signature. You're enjoying this, she hissed under her breath. Josephine leaned in close enough for only Karen to hear. I'm enjoying the truth, Karen. The problem. Turns out the problem was the woman who thought a clipboard gave her the right to steal. By noon, the contractors arrived to finish the north side landscaping. Josephine politely but firmly told the group the community weekend was over. They could leave whenever they wanted. The gates would open one last time. Karen was the last to shuffle out, looking back at the gleaming mansion that used to be her kingdom. You'll be lonely here, she muttered. All this space, all by yourself. Josephine smiled. Owned and crowded in one where I'm invisible. She pressed the app on her phone. Karen waddled to her SUV, blazer now wrinkled and pathetic. The rest of the board followed in silence. As the last car cleared the property line, Josephine hit the button again. The gates closed with a satisfying metallic clang that echoed across the lake. The neighborhood chat group exploded that night. Some residents were furious at Karen. Others were quietly impressed by Josephine. A few even sent private messages apologizing for looking the other way all those years. Josephine read them, deleted most, and kept the ones that felt genuine. She wasn't interested in revenge theater anymore, just peace. Inside her new home, she poured a glass of wine, walked out onto the terrace, and watched the sunset paint the water orange. For the first time, the silence wasn't lonely. It was hers. Fines slipped under her door. No more passive-aggressive signs about community standards. No more caring. She thought back to the 12-year-old version of herself who used to fold napkins at family, neighborhood events while everyone else got the spotlight. She thought about the high school valedictorian who gave her speech to empty reserved seats. She thought about the woman who built a six-figure career while the people who were supposed to love her treated her like an inconvenience. All that had led here. The next morning, Josephine woke to the sound of birds and her own coffee machine. She opened the security app and saw the neighborhood already buzzing. People walking dogs, kids on bikes, no one checking grass height with a ruler. Karen's house had a for sale sign by lunch. Word travels fast when the queen loses her crown. Josephine didn't gloat publicly. She didn't post screenshots or victory dances. She simply lived. When barbecue 2 weeks later. No clip art, no rules, just neighbors who showed up because they wanted to, not because Karen commanded it. Months passed. Its HOA was dissolved and replaced with a new, actually functional board that Josephine politely declined to join. She had zero interest in power. She had already taken the only power that mattered. Karen moved to a different subdivision 2 counties over. Rumor said she immediately ran for president there and lasted 3 months before the same pattern repeated. Some people never learn. Josephine kept the estate to a community garden open to anyone who asked nicely. No applications, no fees, no Karen. Every once in a while, a new resident would ask how she pulled it off. She'd smile and say, "I just stopped letting other people decide my worth." And that, you guys, is the real lesson here. Not every Karen gets her empire taken away. But when one does, when the woman who spent years making you feel small suddenly realizes the ground under her feet belongs to you, well, that's the kind of justice that makes you laugh and cry at the same time. Josephine Hernandez didn't need the HOA's approval. She never did. Stop waiting for it. So next time you get that passive-aggressive fine in your mailbox, or that group text excluding you from the block party, remember this story. Document everything. If the numbers don't add up by the damn ground they're standing on. The lake was calm that evening as Josephine sat on her terrace, wine in hand, watching the sun dip behind the trees she now owned. For 9 years, she had been erased. Now she was the only name that mattered. And the neighborhood? It had never been more peaceful. Thank you for listening all the way through. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. If you love justice porn and Karen takedown, smash that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.